Fine. So Max Weber is one of the, what you can say, the apex of classical studies or classical theory, but he's typical or distinct from the classical scholars. He falls in the same category, but his methods are very unique. Being a sociologist, he's not just concerned about industrial organizations, he's more concerned about society and administration relationship. So do you agree that every society requires a form of administrative system? And that administrative system reflects the realities, the features of that society. If you understand this from a different angle, let's say, if I take administration as a structure, right, and there are certain functions to be performed in society. So you require a structure which represents those functions, which is capable of performing those functions. So in the same manner, if I say there is a modern society, there is an industrial society, and there is a traditional society. So traditional society will have less functions, less complications than modern society. Why? No, but why? I'm talking about why social functions would be less complicated in traditional society. In what sense? People are same. What changes? People will be educated. Okay. Then economic systems will change. Needs will change. So as the structure of economy changes, quality of people change, the demand for society or new forms of needs emerge, maybe because intellectual development takes place, psychological changes take place. Society becomes more logical from less logical, right? Intellectual development, scientific development. So when these changes will take place, complications will increase. Will the same administrative system be able to fulfill these needs? नहीं ना? तो क्या करेंगे फिर? Logically, see, same people or humans are humans, right? But social values, social needs changed. Administrative system, let's say, did not change. Then what will happen? The administration is basically to fulfill the objectives of society. It has not changed. Then what will happen? Conflict will happen, right? That means what? Any power system that you design must match the needs and priorities of the society. That is Weber's thesis. He simply says that if you talk about administration, if we are talking about organization, public administration, then it is a system of power. In any society, private administration and public administration, what is the main difference? The authority, right? So if you create a system of authority, that system must reflect the realities of society, because that is the system which is going to govern the society. So he says, imagine if a society has created an administrative system, right, or accepted an administrative system, then there must be some transfer of power from society to system, right? It's very logical. So how this system is accepted, how this power translates from society to a system, and then from system on the society. That is his theory. So he's saying no administrative system, no organization that governs the society can remain without system of power. So my concern is not first to understand the organization. My concern is first to understand how an organization gets power or authority to manage things in the society. Structure to baad mein sochenge. Right? We'll think of structure later. First, we have to think how this system itself is accepted by the society. That is why he's called a sociologist, who studied the sociology of power, how power moves in the society. That is his first logic. Secondly, he says, see, when an administrative system will be created, it will exercise power, right? How it will be visible to us? How do we know that the system is exercising power in the society, right? And it is being accepted by the people. How do we know it?
So, the law enforcement, like judiciary or police, we are seeing that they are exercising the power. That person through that they exercise power.
But how it is visible in the society? The law banega. They will do it, but how they'll do it? No, they'll make a law. Procedures will be made. They will be implemented. People will accept these procedures. Accept to karenge nahi. So he uses a term. He says power, when it is aggregated or converted into a system, that power is called authority. When this authority is exercised in the society, then it is visible in the form of obedience and acceptance by the members of society. That acceptance he calls as domination. That domination is not negative word here. He says domination is the acceptance, the compliance to the authority which the system exercises. So his entire theory revolves around this idea: how power is created into a system, how system exercises authority, right, and how it is accepted by the society. Now you understand first this cycle. Now imagine there is a traditional society which also has a power system, right, or authority system. This authority is exercised there, that is also complied by the people, right, and the process goes on. Traditional society. Then modern society, same process goes on. So what is his theory about? Is about first explanation, that how power revolves, moves in a society, and how it is accepted, whether it is a modern society or traditional society. So in any society, how power or authority is used and why it is accepted. Now he says, as we move from a traditional society to modern society, right, nature of the system also evolves. Why? Nature of the society also changes. So he says, what will be the form of administrative system, most developed form, most evolved form of administrative system that will be used in the modern society? That is his theory. Now it is his search. So he's searching for what will be the best form of administrative system which will be used in modern societies. That administrative system he calls as bureaucracy. And he develops a theory to find out what will be the features of this bureaucracy. So he starts from here, then moves to finding or describing the features of the most ideal, modern, efficient, rational administrative system that can ever be. That is called bureaucracy. That is the entire theory. So he says, my bureaucracy or this model of organization is for the modern organizations. And whatever be the nature of modern organization, whatever they evolve, this system will always be used. Why? Because this system has ideal features. The way I have visualized this system, I have visualized this in the best possible manner. There cannot be improvement over this. So this system, right, will always be relevant to any society that evolves in future. So any society which becomes modern or which modernizes further will require an administrative system called bureaucracy. इसलिए बोलते हैं ideal bureaucracy. So he says it's an ideal bureaucracy. Why it is ideal? Whatever happens, how much you evolve, it doesn't matter. This system is always relevant. It is the best. It is the most efficient. So आपको जो भी करना है power से related, whatever you have to do in society, right? For that, this system will always remain the best. Okay, that may be his immaturity, because later on it was criticized, fine. But while he was developing, he realized that this is the most methodical, most efficient, most rational, most evolved system in the world. And any government who wants to administer societies in the modern era will use bureaucracy. पहले इतना कहानी clear है, ये पूरी कहानी है वेबर की, fine. But how? Formally, not theoretically, we understand it. Right? So first we try to understand what methods he uses, how his methods are different from the other classical scholars, right? What are his basic assumptions when he is developing a theory? How he defines power, how he defines authority, how he defines domination, how he defines bureaucracy. In fact, it is very unique that he never defines bureaucracy. He doesn't define it. He only says that, okay, these are the features of bureaucracy. Why? Because Weber is not the first person to use the term bureaucracy. Right? There was a scholar called Vincent de Gournay. He started using this term. And in fact, many other scholars, right? Mill, Bentham, Marx, many scholars have used the term bureaucracy. Thomas Carlyle, right? Cameralists, French scholars, many have used the term. But most of them have used this term in negative sense. The term bureaucracy was used by French and Germans in a negative way, just to indicate that bureaucracy is a form of organization that allows the government, the state, to control the society in the most effective manner. Try to understand. If I need a system that can control the society better, then I can have a bureaucracy. No other system can be as efficient as bureaucracy when it comes to controlling the society. So we can also say that colonial systems under British were also bureaucratic. Though there was no bureaucratic theory then, but by default, they were like the bureaucratic model, which Weber talks about later. So Weber is not the one who defines bureaucracy. Weber is not the one who uses the term for the first time, right? What is Weber? Weber only develops a theory, description of what is bureaucracy. Second, Weber is the one person who makes the term bureaucracy positive or uses this term in a positive manner, takes out the negative meaning of the term bureaucracy, which was prevalent in that times. Because Marx's analysis had totally criticized bureaucracy and the government, state and bureaucracy. So people started using this word in a negative way. So Max Weber took out this negativity from the idea of bureaucracy, and he says, it is an efficient system to govern the society, we must use it. So he developed his theory, he described the features, he suggested what can be done so that bureaucracy functions in the most effective manner, and then how it can be used by the states or any other organization that wants to make its function, its activities highly efficient in nature. Fine. अब एक पार्ट तो वेबर की ब्यूरोक्रेसी का ये है, that we'll study features, theory, whatever he says, right? Next part is the criticism of Weber. The Weber's theory was criticized extensively in spite of being the most influential theory. Right? Waldo says Weber is the paradigm, or Weber's bureaucratic theory is paradigm of ProdEgy. He says without this theory, right, there cannot exist a public administration. But there were so many scholars who criticized Weber, right? A lot of criticisms. And these criticisms in themselves became a unique theories of organization or administration. So just by merely criticism of Weber, independent theories were developed. Right? Alternative forms of organization were explored. Okay, they are called post-Weberian developments. Post-Weberian developments are visible in two forms: anti-Weberian and pro-Weberian. Both. So obviously some supported Weber, right? Just like we have post-NPM developments. In fact, NPM itself is a post-Weberian development. So one aspect is theory, other is criticism, right? Third is the post-Weberian developments. Then the Weber's theory or understanding of bureaucracy can be applied to understanding of so many other things later. So henceforth, after Weber's theory, whatever we'll use, wherever we use the term, the civil services, right, or bureaucratic form of civil services, everywhere the meaning will come directly from the Weber's theory. Whatever question you might get as an individual statement, not even using Weber's name, then also its reference point will be Weber. So if you get a standalone question that civil services based on bureaucratic model has such and such limitations, right? Instantly you have to look for Weber, what features Weber talks about. So that means if it is a bureaucratic model, it will have the same features as Weber talks about. So criticizing those features, right, or supporting those features throughout now your whatever you study later on, right, everything will be understood with reference to Weber. You understood this much? So we'll start with theory. Obviously he wrote a book, famous book, right? Power Authority Domination, Economic and Social Theory, right, or Social and Economic Theory. And there he has highlighted it. Then he wrote another book, like I said. One part of him was sociologist, so he was more concerned about basically sociology of religion and economics. So he wrote a book, Protestant Ethics and Spirit of Capitalism, where he talked about that how religions or how religious values have become an important factor in promoting economic growth and development. Right? The economic structures that emerged in various societies was a consequence of dominant religious values. Right? So US or Europe, he found that capitalism has played a very important role in, the Christianity or Protestantism, right? Catholicism and Protestantism, there are two major sects, you can say. So how they have shaped the emergence of economic systems. So he has, but that is not our concern, right? That is more a concern of sociology, not ProdEgy. So we'll start with that. कि भाई Weber का basic premise क्या है पहले? So Max Weber, right? 1920s, classical, but little different from classical scholars. Fine, so kindly give first the heading, focus of study. Focus of study. Okay, Max Weber, comma, the German sociologist. Max Weber, the German sociologist, was one of the first persons to provide a positive or constructive meaning to the term bureaucracy. To the term bureaucracy. He neither defined the term, nor explained it, but only described its features and developed principles to understand its functioning. There were several scholars who had used the term bureaucracy but they did not develop an organized theory or study of bureaucracy. Organized theory or study of bureaucracy. For example, the term was historically used by Vincent de Gournay Thomas Carlyle, Karl Marx, etc. But most of these scholars, or most of them used it in a negative manner. Like Thomas Carlyle, says, the growth of bureaucracy in Europe was a continental nuisance. You understand what is the meaning of word continental? No, that is fine, but word continental, right? The countries which represent a huge landmass, so that they themselves can be called or referred to as a continent. So basically the entire landlocked area, not landlocked, but the entire area mostly of the Western Europe is referred to as continental, right? It is huge. Geographically, it is connected, contiguous to each other, right? And generally when you think of one, you already assume that there is interconnection of the other. So if you enter at one, you can get every other territory interconnected with each other. So any culture that spreads at one place, right, might also spread at other places equally. So reference word continental is used in that sense, right? Large land masses, geographical regions, right? Somewhere cultural homogeneity, or at least cultural proximity with each other. Geographical proximity, इसके लिए हम word generally Western Europe के लिए use करते हैं, right? इसलिए भी use करते हैं वहाँ continental legal systems emerge हुए. Okay, they had a type of legal system, France, Germany, mostly which were referred to as continental systems, and they were quite dominant, right? And that is why we use this term. So he tried to say that as the bureaucracies are emerging, the form of organization which are emerging in Europe, right? These forms of organization are a threat to the society. So he uses the word continental nuisance. They are basically a product of these continental countries. And whatever these continental countries are trying to do, so he says, he refers to this as something which is a threat to the society. He uses it in that term. Right? So he believed that increasing bureaucracy, increasing role of bureaucracy somewhere will be negative to the society. So just now I said that bureaucracy was a model, a form of organization, which was used basically to exercise control over society. It was believed that it is the best form of system which can be used to control and regulate the society. And if you want to organize power to tackle anything, then it is the best system which can organize power. Let's say a vacuum cleaner. So you use a vacuum cleaner to what? To clean things. How do you do it? How do you do how vacuum cleaner works? He's saying the same thing. What does bureaucracy does? It sucks power. So if any power system has to be created, it will be bureaucracy. So what they believed that this system is basically created to control, regulate, exploit people, as it is the best form of arrangement of power. Weber views this process in a different manner. Weber does not deny it is a system of concentration of power, but he says that this can be used for better purposes. Why are you treating it in a negative manner? That is the only difference between Weber and them. Karl Marx, right, has used the word bureaucracy again in a negative manner. He believes the term bureaucracy or the system of bureaucracy is used by the capitalists, by the governments to oppress people. So Marx's view is also negative towards bureaucracy. Similarly, Karl Marx believed that bureaucracy is a system of exploitation used by the capitalists, system of exploitation used by the capitalists to suppress the revolts and the working class. Right? For him, it was a puppet. It was a puppet in the hands of capitalists. But Weber, through his theory of bureaucracy, Weber, through his theory of bureaucracy, totally altered this negative perception towards bureaucracy, towards bureaucracy. Methodology of Weber and basic assumptions. Now here we'll write, okay, the term bureaucracy consists of two terms or two words, bureau plus cracy. Bureau plus cracy. It is a hierarchical structure or office It is a hierarchical structure or an office which is headed by a single individual at the top. So this system, bureau, is what? Which comprises of a hierarchical system design, right? Which is or which follows the unity of command. And the people who are working here, they are all called bureaucrats or officials. So system where officials are recruited or appointed to perform functions is called bureau, right? Bureaucracy is rule. So a part of the administration or the government where the officials rule, or systems where the officials rule, or through which the officials rule the part of society, that is called bureaucracy. So that part of the power or system of government which is managed by officials, civil servants, right? Where this system now rules or governs the society, that is called bureaucracy. So it is an official part of the administrative or state system. Rest is political part. The administrative part can be called as bureaucracy. Now see. So bureaucracy is a form of organization. It is also a system of control or application of rules, regulations, managing society, which is done by purely the public servants. Right? So typically, a bureau is an office. It is a kind of office which is headed by a single individual. That is called bureau. So bureau word is basically used in more professional sense, formal sense, right? Something which is much improved than what was there. Bureau का उल्टा मॉडल पंचायत टाइप होगा. Understand? Where there are multiple heads, there is no clarity, there is no rules, regulations, structure, design. That will be called opposite to bureaucracy. So bureau का जो opposite होता है उसको बोलते हैं chamber model. A chamber model is underdeveloped system, not professional, neither logical nor legally developed. It does not have that kind of competence as bureaucracy has. तो पंचायत जो है, अगर आप लो कि भाई पंचायत भी एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव फॉर्म है, सिस्टम है, राइट? पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम है. So that will be a kind of system which is more anarchic compared to bureaucracy. So the term bureaucracy refers to any organized system which is developed in a very efficient manner and which has certain features. That is called bureaucracy. But to सबसे basic understanding है, officials working in a system which is headed by a single individual. Right. So this word bureaucracy, obviously the bureau form or this hierarchical model, right? This has come from the military. So many of the features which this form of organization has, right, they basically reflect the features of military system. But it is not being used for military purpose. It is used for civic functions, development, welfare, and all those things. So Weber does not define it. Weber assumes that people know what is bureaucracy, right? But what Weber does now, interesting thing, that he does not define it, but he says, yes, every society requires power, and this is the best system through which power can be exercised and can be utilized for the society. Right? So he appreciates it, but doesn't define it. Right? So you write a line just below this. Right. As far as Weber is concerned, he accepts that bureaucracy is the most efficient form of organization that can be used within quotes, that can be used for rationalization. Kindly write it, you will understand. Form of rationalization of collective social action. Now, to understand this point, you have to understand you are a society, group of people, you want to do something, construct a road. Can you do it efficiently? Why? It is not a full-time job, first of all. Then it will be more like a hobby, not actually a professional duty. Fine. So what will you do? If the society believes that it needs to serve welfare, it needs to protect itself, it needs to develop things, then what will society do when it feels that it does not have the ability or expertise? So whoever says every society, what it does, it tries to create or tries to achieve the goals of society through collective social action. Collective social action क्या है? Very simple. Community wants to do something. That is a collective social action. But are we going to do it ourselves? No. So what do? We want to convert this our collective action, whatever we intend to do, right? इसको हम क्या करना चाहते हैं? एक सिस्टम में कन्वर्ट करना चाहते हैं. Whatever we want to achieve collectively as a society, what we do for it, we create that into a system, and we say let it be called as government or administration or whatever. So whatever society wants to achieve, collective interest, public interest, welfare, जो भी वो चाहती है, वो कैसे करना चाहती है उसको? Through an organized system. Are you able to first understand? This is a very, very, very important concept. So if I say this collective social action has to be done in the most efficient manner, you don't have to just perform it, you have to perform it in the best possible manner. Then what will you do? You'll start searching for the system that will be most efficient, most rational. That is what Weber says कि भाई ये bureaucracy क्या है? ये वो search है और उस search का consequence है. That societies, every society which wants to achieve its goals in the most rational and efficient manner, it is searching for a form of organization through which it can carry out its collective social action. So what are the policies, programs? ये क्या है? Collective social actions ही तो है भाई. Defense, security, development क्या है? They are all collective social actions in the form of policies. Who makes it? Government and administration. So he says if they have to do something, what are they are going to do? They are going to organize it. And then they are going to do it, achieve it, right? So he says, how will they do it? That process we have to understand. Every society has to perform collective social action. Whatever they are doing for the society's survival, sustenance, growth, development, that is a collective social action. Government क्या है? एक collective social action का system है और क्या है? But individually, so we can do everything on our own. Why do we need a government? Really? But when we think of collective interest, public interest, welfare, collective goals, then we say yes, there is need for a system which is beyond our family or community or neighborhood. एक ऐसा system बनाना पड़ेगा जो सबके लिए काम करे, which works for everyone. That is the idea. So Weber is one of the unique scholars who thinks society in this manner. That what is society? Society is, or what does society, how does society act? It acts through collective social action. The social action उसका एक बहुत important aspect है, right? What is a social action? Like I said, welfare is a social action. What society wants to do collectively is a social action. Welfare, development, defense, protection, whatever. This is for your understanding. Don't use it repeatedly in your answer. Understand it once, right? No need to use it again and again. जहाँ यूज करना है वहीं करो, बट ऐसा नहीं कि हर जगह लिखते रहो, है ना? Weber talks about collective. No, you have understood it, fine. Use it when you're writing the theory of Weber. So collective social action. So he says how people are driven to perform this function. Now he's trying to understand this entire process. So Weber says, yes, we want to perform this collective social action in the most efficient manner, and we have been doing it since long time. Right? Traditional societies were also doing it. Tribal societies were also doing it. Primordial societies were also doing it. Every society will have some social action, yeah, collective social action needs, and they will try to fulfill it. So he says how they would be doing it, right? They would be doing it through a system, right? But imagine a backward society who doesn't understand or who did not have those kind of understanding. They did not have those tools, knowledge, information. Then they would be trying to achieve this, right? But they would have failed to have efficient or the rational outcomes. They would have tried to do it, right? For them, it would have been efficient, right? But from today's standard, that might not be efficient. घर लोगों ने पहले भी बनाए, हड़प्पा एंड मोहनजोदारो में भी घर बने, सिटीज बनी, अर्बन सेंटर्स बने, राइट, बट वो घर आज यूज हो सकता है? क्यों? क्यों नहीं हो सकता? Fine, you say it's a modern urbanization. Mohenjo-daro and Harappa was a modern urbanization, urban areas. Fine, it cannot be. क्यों? अरे social construct, social needs, social demands, global impacts, बहुत सारी चीजें चेंज हो गई, क्लाइमेट चेंज हो गया है, तो क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंट स्ट्रक्चर्स चाहिए भाई. You cannot simply say, no, I will live in a mud house, right, where the rainfall is around 125 mm every day. How will you survive there? So that is a fact. That they would also be doing these things, but their functions were limited, right? And probably their parameter of efficiency and quality was much below than what it is today. So Weber now says that basically every society, right, has some collective needs and they perform it. How they would have performed it? Through a system. Those systems were probably not that developed as we are talking about today. Understanding? So concept kya hai? Important concept है भाई, social action. How this social action is born, how people think and why people think to be collectively doing something, why there emerges a need for collective things, collective goals. क्यों ये need emerge होती है?
So basically collective interest का idea is that so that individual basis पे no one can fulfill their role. So collectively so that they will be able to achieve.
There are certain things which we cannot fulfill individually, correct? Right? Plus, there is a limitation of the individual effort. You cannot do that. So it is quite obvious that social actions will emerge when we think of society. एक society है भाई, it wants to perform certain things, right? Why it wants to perform these things? Because the members of the society have agreed or accepted that these are some collective interests that we need to fulfill and exist as a society. If we don't perform these functions, we may not exist as a society. So we want to exist that way, we want to survive, we want to grow, and that is why we need to perform these functions. Fine? Now see. So society develops what? A collective will. This is also called a collective conscience. They think alike. They have similar needs. They somewhere work as a team, think as a team. See? Collective conscience. Their will are aligned together. Their thinking, mental orientation, right? Practical needs, all are integrated as one. So Weber says there is a social action, right? Influenced by collective will or collective conscience. जब सभी लोग वो चाहते हैं, right? Then they demand it. So obviously for that, they create a system. So this administration or government, जो भी है, right? How it is born? It is born out of this collective will, this collective conscience. When all of them agree that yes, we need what? We need a state, or we need an administrative system. We need an authority system in our society so that it can manage work for these functions on our behalf. Okay, that is called collective conscience, leading to creation of systems. Now, this is Weber's method to understand. So he says, in very simple way, the society, right, gives its power to a system. Fine. Now, ये process समझ गया तो बोलते हैं अब next बोलते हैं. See, so how this is visible? Society wants to create the system. The system will work on behalf of society. That means the system that is created, it should have power and authority to do things. How will it do it? ये कैसे करेगी? कुछ उसको चाहिए ना, सिस्टम को पावर या अथॉरिटी तो चाहिए. तो बोलते हैं सी, now the state or administration is created when this collective will agrees to transfer the power of the society and systematically arrange this power into an organized system and organization. Now comes the difficulty. He starts, or he wants to now define what is power. So he says, as power is transferred, then it must be defined by what is power. So his primary focus now is on power because he feels all this process is good, but ultimately, what can transform the society? What can do things in the society? What can achieve the goals of society? That is power, nothing else. If you have to do anything in the society, you need what? Power. Power is the factor which translates your vision, your theoretical goals into actual actions. So he says society requires a system of power which can implement these things, which can achieve these things, which can resolve conflicts in society.